Hey everyone, welcome back to the Colonial Airstream YouTube channel, and today we're tackling one of the most common questions that we get. What can tow an Airstream Basecamp? Not every vehicle with a hitch is built to tow one of these, and today we're going to be taking this and breaking it down. We're going to break down the important specs that you need to know, what vehicles can tow the Basecamp, what vehicles you might think can tow the Basecamp but actually can't, and finally, must-know details on proper hitching and towing safety, as well as what can tow the 20 as well as the 20X Basecamp. Let's get into it. Now, before we talk about tow vehicles, we need to go over some numbers, because towing isn't just about horsepower, it's about weight ratings as well as safety. Now, the Basecamp 16 and 16X have a max loaded weight rating, or GVWR, of 3,500 pounds. Now, the tongue weight of the 16 is 410 pounds, while the 16X has a tongue weight of 450. Now, the Basecamp 20 and 20X have a max loaded weight rating of 4,300 pounds and a tongue weight rating of 500 with the 20 and 535 pounds with the 20X. Now, these numbers matter because the tongue weight is actually eating away from your payload, and you need to make sure that the hitch on the vehicle is rated for not just the max tow weight rating, but also the tongue weight of the trailer that you'll be towing. If you're considering towing a Basecamp 16 or 16X, here's a few vehicles that you might be surprised to hear can absolutely take on the job. The first example I want to talk about is the Subaru Outback Wilderness. When it's upgraded and outfitted correctly, it can absolutely take on a 16-foot Basecamp. There's also vehicles like the Audi Q5, the Porsche Macan, the Land Rover Discovery Sport. Each one of those vehicles can tow a total tow weight rating of 4,400 pounds, and as long as they're outfitted correctly for the tongue weight as well, and you have enough payload remaining, you can absolutely tow a 16 behind these vehicles, and it's going to look great. Now, if you're looking for a Basecamp with a little more room and you're considering the 20 or the 20X model, then you're looking for a larger tow vehicle, something with more power and more stability. So here are a few examples that we've seen over the years and have the correct tow weight rating, and when optioned correctly, can tow a Basecamp. The first thing I like to mention is the Volvo XC90. If you don't have a lot of gear or a lot of passengers, it has the correct tow weight rating. It can handle the tongue weight as well. You just need to make sure that you're not exceeding your payload, and I'm going to mention that again at the end. Now, the Subaru Ascent is also able to tow 5,000 pounds, as well as the Mazda CX-70, a new entry to the market, the Tesla Model X, which needs a brake controller added but already has a harness there, like a lot of the vehicles I'm going to mention, the Volkswagen Atlas in the same situation and can tow 5,000 pounds, the Honda Ridgeline, which can tow 5,000 pounds and also has a surprisingly high payload, the Hyundai Santa Fe and Santa Cruz. The Santa Cruz is really cool because it has a nice little bed, kind of like a modern day El Camino, and it can absolutely tow the Basecamp. There's also the Toyota 4Runner and the Toyota Highlander. I'd be more inclined to recommend the 4Runner, but the Highlander absolutely has the same weight ratings. You just want to be more careful with your payload. And the Ford Explorer is great, 5,000 pound tow weight rating. You can option it with a lot of tow haul accessories from the factory. And then there's vehicles like the Jeep Gladiator. That can be optioned with 5,000 pound tow weight rating, or if it's fully optioned out, can tow 7,500 pounds. And it's really nice if you have a big buffer between what you can tow and the weight that you're actually towing. And the Jeep Grand Cherokee even boasts a 6,200 pound tow weight rating. And I also want to mention the Nissan Frontier and the Nissan Pathfinder. There's great options on brake controllers from factories with these guys, and they also have over 6,000 pounds in tow weight rating. So a nice, robust vehicle when you're only towing a small amount of weight. Now, here's where people get into trouble. Some vehicles look like they can tow a Basecamp, but they just don't have the capability. Either their tow rating is too low, their suspension isn't built for it, or their tongue weight limits or payload can't handle the trailer safely. Here are some of the most common mistakes that we see. Here are some vehicles that cannot tow a Basecamp 16. The Toyota Sienna, as well as the Honda Odyssey and the Chrysler Pacifica, all have a tow weight rating of around 3,500 pounds, but they don't have the tongue weight rating for 410 or 450 pounds on the tongue of the 16 Basecamps. Another example is the Toyota RAV4. While it might have the overall weight rating, it's just not a great idea because as you eat into the payload, you eat into your occupant weight limit. as well as your cargo carrying capacity. So those things you don't want to encroach on when you're towing with your vehicle. Another example is the Ford Escape for the same similar reasons, as well as the Buick Enclave. And then one that I wish I could tow with, these are actually two vehicles I wish I could tow with, the Ford Maverick. The 3,500 pound weight rating is just barely enough to handle the Basecamp, and if you were to load it up, it would eat away at your payload and it wouldn't account for the weight of the occupants in the vehicle. And then another honorable mention is the Alfa Romeo Giulia, their SUV. They actually cannot be outfitted with a tow bar due to the way that the exhaust is built in the rear. So sometimes people do actually come in with that vehicle and I have to bear the bad news to them. So even if these vehicles might have a hitch, and you might even see some people towing small trailers with them, they just aren't built for the weights of the Basecamp. And that's not about the pulling power, it's just about the stability and the safety of the vehicle, as well as the braking ability. So always check your vehicle's tow rating, your manufacturer's manual, and not just whether it has a hitch. Even if you have the right tow vehicle, your towing setup makes all the difference in the world. So here's what you need to know before you hit the road. First, you need to choose the correct hitch system. The trailer should always be traveling level, if not slightly nose down behind you down the road. You're going to want a hitch that holds that trailer right where it needs to. A weight distribution hitch not only keeps your trailer level, it actually redistributes some of the weight on your truck. So if the rear of your truck is slightly squatted down, it can redistribute and help level out your vehicle as well. Now there are exceptions to this. There are vehicles out there with really complicated air suspension systems that don't want you using a weight distribution hitch, as well as unibody vehicles that might recommend against it. So you always want to check your owner's manual. And here's the other one, using a brake controller. Now this is a big one. A brake controller syncs your tow vehicle brakes with your trailer brakes, making it stop much safer and smoother. And it's also required by law in most states for trailers in excess of 3,000 pounds. So that includes both Basecamp models when they are loaded. As I said earlier, you need to understand your tongue weight. Your vehicle needs to support the weight of the hitch. Too little and your trailer can have more sway, too much and you can lose steering control. A proper hitch system balances this out perfectly. These small details make a huge difference on how your Basecamp tows, so don't overlook them at all. So now you know a few more examples of vehicles that can actually tow a Basecamp and a few that can't. And now you know a little bit more about how to do it the right way. Now, if you're thinking about getting a Basecamp and you need help figuring out your tow setup specifically, reach out to me here at Colonial Airstream and we're happy to help you answer any questions and make sure that you're set up for success. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Airstream content, and we really hope to see you soon and see you on the road.